"Stop yelling, Maureen. You are scaring yourself." That was what he said, calmly, while I stood there barefoot in the kitchen, clutching my chest, shaking, trying to breathe. My purse was upside down on the floor. I had torn through every drawer looking for my car keys. I swore I had left them on the hallway table. I always did. But somehow, they were right there in my purse again. Felix held them out to me with that smirk that made my skin crawl. "You probably just forgot." "It happens," he said. That was the third time this week. My mind felt like wet paper, tearing at the edges. Was I really this forgetful? Was I making things up? Or was something deeply wrong, and I could not see it yet? I remember the sting of shame, how I apologized. I apologized for overreacting. But a voice deep inside whispered something else that night. Something dangerous. Maybe he wanted me to feel crazy. Before I continue, I want to say a massive thank you to all our subscribers. If you are new or have been watching but have not yet subscribed, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button. It is what fuels this channel and keeps us going. And do not forget to share your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. My name is Maureen. I am a 35-year-old high school English teacher in Michigan. I used to think love was supposed to feel like butterflies and poems. I met Felix at a teacher's conference in Lansing. He was not even part of the event, just someone I bumped into at the hotel cafe. He made me laugh. He remembered small things I said. He sent flowers to my job. 6 months later, we were married. It was fast, but it felt like fate. At first, he made me feel seen, special, protected. But then, the fog started creeping in. It began with little things. I would mention something he said that hurt me, and he would tilt his head, eyes full of concern, and say, "I never said that." When I insisted, he would rub his temples and say, "You always twist my words, Maureen." And every time I raised my voice, even slightly, he would say I was being emotional, overly sensitive, that I needed to get a grip. Then things started disappearing. Keys. My favorite earrings. A letter I had written to my sister. And just as quickly, they would reappear. In places I had checked 5 times. He would look at me like I was slow, like I was not well. I started writing notes to myself just to keep track of what was real. I stopped sharing stories with friends because they started giving me that look. The look that says, "Maybe it is you." Even Loretta, my best friend of 12 years, told me I should be more understanding of Felix. That maybe I was reading too much into things. So I stayed quiet. I smiled through dinners. I showed up to work in iron clothes with a painted-on face. But at night, I cried in the bathroom with a towel pressed to my mouth so he would not hear me. And that night, the key incident, I looked into the mirror and saw a woman I did not recognize. Her eyes were wild. Her hands would not stop trembling. That night, I decided to stop trusting Felix's words and start watching his actions. Because if I really was going crazy, I needed proof. I started waking up an hour earlier than Felix. I would tiptoe into the kitchen, make myself a cup of tea, and wait. The first morning, I noticed he always left his phone charging beside the bed. No password. Too confident. Too sloppy. The first few scrolls showed nothing. But on the 5th morning, I saw a message that stopped my breath. Last night was dangerous, but worth it. A woman named C with a red heart next to her name. There were photos too, private, intimate, blurred just enough to make me question, but clear enough to hurt. I felt a cold sweat form under my arms. I took screenshots, emailed them to myself, deleted the sent file. I thought that was the worst of it, but it was not. The second woman was saved under a male name. I only figured it out after reading a thread that started with, "I miss your mouth." I felt sick. But the third one, that one broke me. Her name was Loretta. My closest friend. I had known her since college. She was the one who helped me pick my wedding dress, the one who held my hand through my miscarriage. And there she was in his messages, sending him photos and calling him my secret. I dropped the phone on the bed. My knees buckled. I crawled to the bathroom, not even bothering to close the door. I gagged until there was nothing left in me. But something strange happened after that. I did not cry. I stared at my reflection and said out loud, "You are not crazy." It was like something cracked open inside me. Not pain. Not even rage. Clarity. I made a folder. I began collecting everything. Voice notes, screenshots, timestamps. I planted a hidden camera in our living room. I recorded our conversations, especially the ones where he made me question my own words. I started dressing a little different, smiling a little less. He noticed. "Are you on your period or something?" He joked one night. I did not respond. He reached for me. I turned away. He narrowed his eyes. "You are hiding something." I stayed quiet. That night, he followed me into the kitchen. I felt his presence behind me before I even turned. He grabbed my wrist, not tight, but firm. Controlling. "Look at me, Maureen," he said. "Tell me the truth." I looked him in the eye and said, "I will, just not tonight." I was not ready to blow it all up yet, because when I did, I needed the flames to leave no trace. It was a Sunday afternoon. He had just gotten back from picking up supplies for a DIY home project that never really existed. I was sitting on the couch with his phone in my hand, open. He froze when he saw me. I looked him straight in the eye and said, "Sit." He laughed. "What is this? An intervention?" I did not smile. I pressed play. The recording of him from 3 nights ago played clearly. His voice, sharp and dismissive, saying, "You must be sick in the head." I never said that. "You need help." He blinked. I played another. The one where he accused me of moving his own wallet, then gaslight me for half an hour until I apologized for something I never did. He looked at me. His face shifted. Then I played the voice note from Loretta. Her soft laugh. Her whisper, "I cannot wait to see you again." She is so clueless. I watched his mouth twitch. Panic, not remorse. He reached for the phone, but I held it tighter. "Do not touch me," I said. "Maureen, this is not what it looks like," he began, his tone switching into that soft, rehearsed concern I had heard 1,000 times before. But I was not that woman anymore. "I know exactly what this is," I said. "And you are not going to twist it this time." He scoffed. "So what? You want a divorce now? Go ahead. You will not get the house. You will not get custody. And you sure as hell will not get a penny from me." I stood. "I already filed," I said. 2 weeks ago." His face dropped. I could see the mask crack. I spoke to a lawyer. "I have copies of everything. Every lie. Every threat. Every betrayal. You can try to fight me, but you will lose." I walked out of the room, heart pounding, hands shaking. But this time I was not afraid. I had already spoken to a domestic abuse counselor. I had moved half of my belongings into a storage unit under my sister's name. I had arranged for a substitute at school. The next day I left. I left behind the house, the lies, and the woman I used to be. He tried to contact me. Of course he did. He begged, then blamed, then threatened again. But I blocked him on everything. It took months for my hands to stop trembling. Even longer for me to believe my own thoughts again. Gaslighting is not just lying. It is soul theft. But I survived. I rebuilt my life one quiet morning at a time. I am no longer trying to prove I am sane. I know I am. I am no longer afraid to take up space. To speak. To be heard. Because the day I chose me was the day I became free. If this story touched you in any way, please give it a thumbs up. Comment your thoughts. I read every single one. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And do not forget to subscribe for more real, raw, and powerful stories of survival. Thank you for being here. You are not alone.